Well, after a brief hiatus of a couple of months here, taking some time away from our YouTube channel after a busy summer, we are back with episode 13 of What Not to Do. I'm Eric Lloyd, owner of Oregon Risk Management Solutions and Oregon Fire Safety Solutions. Just like in our previous episodes, we're going to be watching some safety fails, some workplace accidents. Everybody walks away from them, no worries there, but some accidents, some injuries, the things that went awry. We're going to be seeing what we can learn from them. We're going to talk about how the OSHA rules might apply. We're going to maybe laugh at them a little bit along the ways. Producer Dakota, like always, found us some great video clips. So with that, we will just jump into our first clip for episode 13. Oh, it's the old wrenches to climb the I-beam thing. That's good. Do you have zip ties for this one? I've seen some different variations of that. That's really solid. I love that he's got, like, he's wearing a harness too, and he's got the little lanyard hanging off the back. So he's thinking about safety. Maybe he's even going to clip off to something when he gets up to the top. Let's watch that one more time here. He's got his nice little homemade ladder. He moves it out of the way so he doesn't fall on it. That is definite points for ingenuity. Maybe we could have gotten an actual ladder that was like not scrap wood nailed together. That might have been a better way to approach that and climb the ladder to get up to it. Maybe if we had the ability, we could set up some scaffolding and climb up on that. Maybe we could bring in a scissor lift. Yes, I get we don't always have the option to do things like that, but I'd like to think at a bare minimum we could have found a reasonable ladder for that. The wrenches that we're using for our climbing gear, not exactly rated for that. Who knows if it's damaged? Who knows if it's compromised? Who knows if bending it that way, it's a Harbor Freight special and it snaps in half. The zip ties we've got attached to our boots on it don't hold up the way we want them to. Maybe not quite ideal. But again, I do really appreciate that he's got his little lanyard and clip, and he's going to tie off to something when he gets up there, gosh darn it. It's a good one. Producer Dakota said I had to move the mic closer. So now we did that. Good advice for life. When you're making a YouTube channel, do whatever Producer Dakota tells you to. Okay, we've got our next clip. This one, I was excited knowing this was coming into it here. Thor's hammer. Let's see what we got. Okay. Oh, no! That didn't go to plan. Oh, and his buddies know it too. He's never going to live that down. That's good. Maybe use the right tool for the job. Maybe that was more hammer than we needed. And we're not, he's close to Thor. He's like one fitness level down from Thor. Really, really close. But maybe that was too much hammer for the job. Maybe we could have positioned ourselves a little bit different. We talk about an ergonomics training, like staggering our feet to be a little more stable. It looks like his feet are pretty much together, super off center like that, staggering his feet, blading his body towards what he's doing so he can offset the weight of the hammer a little bit, and then obviously spreading our grip so we can bring it down and get that momentum swinging action there. That's somebody that didn't get trained to do that, right? We never had a safety brief. We never had somebody that said, hey, this is what we're going to be doing this morning. This is how we're going to do it. He just got handed a tool and said, go to work. And now all of his buddies are going to make fun of him for the rest of his career doing that. All right. Our next clip is called My Last Day at Home Depot. This can't be good. We're doing a little forklift driving. We were going a little fast, but he saw the tight spot and he slowed down. He's going to shoot the gap. It should fit. Oh, no. And he bails out and runs away. And there's nobody else running. So at least there's that. There wasn't a bunch of other people around him that were caught in that mess. There's somebody coming to see, what on earth did you do? Wow. Okay. Well, a couple of things. Again, we're flying pretty fast with a pretty wide load coming up there. Again, we always train on, forklift classes. We got to adjust our speed for our conditions. The dude saw he was shooting the gap, so he did slow down, but obviously we needed to slow down a little more and assess whether it actually fits or not. If you just absolutely had to get through that spot and there was no other way to do it, I suppose maybe he could have picked that plywood up over the barrels to get through that narrow little spot because we get to the backside. Although obviously whenever we can, we want to keep that weight as low as we can. to improve our center of gravity. I don't love that he bailed out. I think in most cases, you're probably better off in that situation. Like we always talk about with tip overs, wearing your seatbelt and staying inside your cage of protection. I mean, it's all playing the odds and situational, but if one of those beams had whacked him on the way out of the cage, that could have gone really bad, and I'd be inclined to say that most of the heavy stuff is going to bounce off the cage he was on there. So realistically, if we're in that situation and stuff is crashing down on us, probably the best chance you've got is to stay inside that protective bubble. The other thing that stands out to me here is, really for the pallet racking to collapse the way it did, there was some issues on that end as well. There's some really specific rules on what we're supposed to do with pallet racking. I think for shelving that's higher than 8 feet high, it needs to be anchored to the ground so that it can't get tipped over like that. That kind of racking, has great big foot pads on it with like 4 bolt holes in it. We could have anchored it to the concrete so that the uprights are a little more stable. We always, obviously have weight capacities for stuff like that we need to stay inside of so that we're not overloading it. That could potentially make it even tippier if it does get bumped. But if we'd had our pallet racking how it should have been, we probably also wouldn't have had that big of a disaster for us to be sitting here laughing at. All right, clip number 4, concrete buffer gone wild. At least nobody's like jumping on it yet. I feel like that's bound to come. Somebody's thinking about this. What are we gonna do? SWAT. I guess, that they're standing around watching, and maybe we'll tell ourselves making a safety plan, not just reacting. Oh, the dude's coming over with the big stick. Oh, what's gonna happen here? We're gonna trap it? What on earth are they doing? It's creative. They're thinking it through. Now you can't see it. This feels like the grown man construction site equivalent of some like elementary school playground game or something like that. It goes and goes and goes. And they finally got it. Did they win? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. No, you could definitely sync that up with some really amusing music to go along with it. So something went wrong from the start for us to be in the situation where it is running like that. I think that most of the equipment like that usually has some kind of like safety switch, dead man switch, a lever you have to hold down for it to run like that. And if you let go of it, the same way a push lawnmower or something has a throttle that you got to hold back. And if you let go, it stops. So the fact that it's running like this tells me that it probably had some kind of safety measure like that either is not working correctly, or God forbid, I know no one would ever do this, but had been disabled. Somebody clipped a cable or zip tied it closed or something like that because we were tired of holding it. And somebody got a lesson on why they have those features. I gotta say, as silly as this is, I do really appreciate that nobody goes, I don't know what they're doing with the water thing. Nobody just goes running onto it like, I'm gonna just rodeo this thing to a stop. I'm gonna run in there and jump on it and grab it like I thought this was gonna have happen, because those things are definitely heavy and got a lot of momentum there. And if it whacked you or it grabbed you and dragged you or things like that, like there can be some pretty good injuries that occur. I was waiting for somebody to get wrapped up in that tarp they tried to put around it. It didn't happen. They tried some different things, creativity. They did stop for a minute to plan. And that's something that we always talk about and push people for, is make the safety plan, do the safety brief, take the tactical pause. But when we got situations we're not expecting or we don't know how to handle, let's take a time out. Let's talk about it. Let's make a plan. And they did that in a very amusing way. That was Concrete Buffer Gone Wild, and we've got one more clip for episode 13. They said the operator doesn't need a respirator. What could go wrong here? What are they doing? Making some kind of noxious gases there. So I had to watch this a couple times to figure out what was going on here, and then we had to look at the comments, and the gnarly looking swamp gas coming out of those bins is nitric acid, which, if you can't tell by the name, is not good for you. After a little bit of research, what we were seeing is that the permissible exposure limit for nitric acid is, depending on which set of rules you're subject to, 1 or 2 parts per million. So not very much. That is a whole bunch of noxious gas coming off of that. And our operator is wearing a face shield. So you know that we're breathing some of that stuff in, and that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. We had a failure to do a proper PPE assessment. Maybe we had a failure to review the information in our hazard communication program. Let's look at the SDS, or the job hazard analysis for the job that we're going to be performing, see what kind of fumes or byproducts could be produced from it and what kind of PPE we need to have for it. Now, this is a situation where sometimes people look at that and say, I don't know what that is. I don't know what I need to do, but it looks gross, or it looks scary, or it smells bad. I'm going to just throw a respirator on just in case. And there definitely is more to it than that. If we're going to wear respiratory protection in an environment like that, we've got to have a whole written respiratory protection program that identifies when we use it, what kind we use, what kind of filters, who's allowed to do it. We got to get medical clearance to make sure we're healthy enough to do it. We got to do fit testing to make sure that a respirator is sealing around it, our face, so that we don't get exposure to it. There's a lot that goes into it, but it's also pretty stinking important that we do it, because that is some nasty stuff that guy was exposed to. You know, I think he sat there at the PPE cabinet and said, this looks dangerous, I'll put some PPE on. He had some stuff, it just wasn't at all the right stuff. A face shield is not what we want to be wearing there. So that was a good find. After doing a little more research about that particular incident, looking at the comments where it came from, it lists the company that it was with. They are an Oregon company. And Oregon OSHA has this really cool habit where they like to spill the tea about investigations that they're doing and citations that they're issued. And there's all sorts of gossip online about what they found as a result of that investigation. Do our employees run the risk of getting hurt in an environment like that? Absolutely. And that's our number one priority, is to make sure we're sending our people home safe. But insult to injury, when we have situations like that come up that our employees know is a problem, have reported to their safety guy, the safety guy is not doing anything about it, and he reports it to OSHA. Now this becomes a really public matter that gets really expensive on the citation standpoint, gets us a bad reputation with our customers, and a whole lot of just general online embarrassment too. So for a whole number of reasons, it's in our best interest to avoid doing stuff like that. All right, that is going to be the end of episode 13. Again, we're back after our long hiatus. We've got some more episodes to come. We're going to keep them coming out more regularly for you here as best as we can. If you're just catching episode 13 and want to know the backstory and where we started all this stuff from, we got a whole bunch of other episodes that you can find on our company YouTube channel, Oregon Risk Management Solutions, but we've also got linked in the episode notes here, so you can find them there as well. If you haven't yet, do check out our website, OregonRMS.com. It gives you a rundown of all the different safety services that we offer, from our consultation and our training, safety supplies that we sell, fire extinguishers, trauma kits. We're able to sell AEDs, all sorts of safety supplies and services we can offer. So check out our website. If you're enjoying what we're doing with this series, invite your friends, share it with your friends, like, comment, follow, all the whole 9 yards, and we will see you for the next episode.